Hello, we are live. Welcome, ladies. Very excited to come into the group today because in this video, I am going to be sharing this one simple shift that led to us having a $1 million month. And when I say us, that actually is my husband and I. We've been business partners for a very, very long time. Actually, he started in 2008. I started in 2009. So we've been doing this entrepreneur journey for a while. And so this shift is duplicatable. We've done it multiple times in our business. We've done it in our clients' businesses. And so for you coming on here right now, it is absolutely possible, depending on where you're coming from, where you are in your business, and also what's kind of going on in here, to be able to take this information, have this shift, and just exponentially grow your business. It's really going to be exciting. I'm happy to be here. So for those of you that are catching the replay, for those of you that are hopping on live, let me know that you are here. Let me know that it's actually coming through, because I'm excited to jump in here today and to really, depending on where you are in your business, this shift, when you implement it, this can be, a $100,000 month for you all the way up to $1 million month. It really just depends. And so I'm curious, before I jump in here, type in the comments, let me know, type in me if you are interested in or even wanting to have this $1 million explosion in your business. And so type that in, let me know. But that brings up the question, do you even believe $1 million, even if it's for the year, is possible for you, right? Because if you don't think it's possible, then certainly it's not ever going to happen. And I remember when that was absolutely part of my existence. I actually used to be an elementary school teacher. I taught 1st and 3rd grade, but then I had 3 girls. I stayed home with them, needed to make extra money, right? And couldn't pay the bills, went online. This was back in 2009, and found entrepreneurship, fell in love with it. And within 6 months, I was able to take that, that annual salary of $35,000, which is what I was making, into that 1 month salary, or 1 month earnings as an entrepreneur. And that was just the game changer shift, right? To be able to make that annual income in a month. That was a huge, huge shift for me. But that was really just where it started. And this shift that we're talking about, yes, it does come down to strategy. And yes, sometimes it comes down into mindset. I'm going to get into specifics with you on exactly what that was. But this story that I want to share with you real quick was so eye-opening for me. It's something that I've anchored back through all of these years of entrepreneurship. And so once I started making, what I considered a very large amount of money, oh my goodness, $35,000 in a month was just astronomical to me. I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know anybody that had done anything like that. I was following that, you go to school, you get a job, you do that forever. And so the entrepreneurship was completely weird to me. But I went to a networking event. I lived in Tampa. So I went to a networking event, and it was all about doing live webinars or speaking on stages. And so at that point in time, they had everybody say, if you've ever done a live presentation, whether online or on stage, stand up if you've made at least $1,000 from that one event. And I was all excited, I stood up and I was like, yeah, I've done that. And they're like, okay, so if you have made at least $5,000, continue standing. So people start sitting down, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still standing. This is really exciting, right? I've made that. Because at that point, one actual webinar, at that point, I had made $12,000. So $12,000 within an hour. So that was kind of my stat. And I thought that was the freaking bomb, okay? And so he's like, if you've made $10,000, go ahead and keep standing. So lots of people sat down at that $10,000 mark. I was at 12, so I was pretty excited. And I looked around, and there's probably 50 people in this room. And there's only 5 of us standing. So my, just the boost that I got from that was super awesome. And then he went from 10,000, he went to 20,000. So I sat down. Nobody else sat down. Then he went to 50,000. I think one person, I don't know exactly what the increments were, but this is what I remember. I remember it to this day because it was so eye-opening to me. He got all the way up to, there's 2 men still standing, all the way up to $1 million in this one event. And he clarified, he was like, okay, now just remember, this is just not from follow-ups, not from different things, one actual event. Lena, hello, thank you for hopping on here. And the guy was like, yes, I made 1.25 million on this speaking one event. It was an hour and a half. And so everyone's, clapping for him. And that to me, I didn't even know that was possible. That wasn't like $1 million in the year. It wasn't even $1 million a month. This man made 1.25 million on a live speaking event. He actually was on stage. It wasn't a webinar. But that right there just like opened up the possibilities that, wow, this is actually happening. There's people in this world that are actually doing that. Now, of course, there are, but I wasn't exposed to it. So it started to shift my mindset just a little bit that like, wow, that's actually possible. And then my mentor, the one that I was personally working with, he had, within that time frame, he had his own $1 million month. And he was really excited about that. So $1 million coming in. So that then brought it even closer to me. Like, this is in my existence. Like, this man that I talk with, he just made $1 million in a month. Like, wow, I can do this. Like, let's keep making these things. I'm going to get there. And then he had like his $1 million day. That just right there was like, okay, people are doing this. This is actually possible. And, it didn't come down to the strategy. That's what I really started to understand. The strategy was the same for different people. Everybody's doing different things. What it started to come down to was the intention you put behind it and the belief that you have around it that you can go and do that. That was one of the shifts. And this is not the shift that we're talking about today. I actually have a strategy shift for you. But that shift allowed it to be possible for us to actually implement this other shift that I'm going to be talking to you about and that you can implement into your business. But Scarlow, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. And so the one thing that I am just really passionate about is, yes, helping entrepreneurs really create that indestructible business so that it can work whether you're working or not, get that cash flow, get that profit, but also thriving in life. And so if you don't have the mindset to be able to not only attract this money to you, earn this money, but keep it, then it makes things a lot harder. Okay, so that was just like the one shift. So it's like when I realized that he had $1 million a day, $1 million day, it was so eye-opening to me that I'm like, I work with this man. I know how to do this exact strategy. My reach just isn't as big as his is. Wow, this became possible for me. And so right now, just think about your business. Think about where you are in your business right now. $5,000 a month may be huge. It may be super tiny. Maybe you're at $100,000 a month. Maybe, $500,000 a month would be your goal. It doesn't really matter what the number is, but think about your business right now. How big are you willing to allow it to get right now? It's kind of like a little litmus test. Like, ask yourself this question right here. How does it feel if you were to earn $100,000 this month? That's the litmus test, and actually use that number. If you make $100,000 this month, how would you feel? Some of you might be like, okay, I'm on par. Some of you would be like, not a great month. Some of you, would you be ecstatic? Hopefully, maybe. But you know what also I noticed is that people started, our clients started making a lot of money coming in, but you know what it did? It caused them to get a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit anxious, because that's where some of this mindset stuff would start to come up. For one, depends on your model. If you have like 100 people buy, like sometimes that means you got a lot more work that you got to go do, and that gets frustrating, overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. Money's great, but I can't handle it. Or it might be like, wow, I just had $100,000 come in. Uh-oh, what if it's going to go away? Or what if bad things are going to come now? Or, well, what does that mean? There's a lot of mental stuff that our mind might start to do. And it's just to be aware of those things right now. And so, Carla, $1 million a month would be amazing. Scarlett, you'd be over the moon thrilled. Lena, it would be amazing. Right, okay? So if you're really far from that number, it's really easy for you to be like, oh my gosh, I want that. That would be so good. And that's how I felt too. Watching these people that I knew, and it wasn't just one, my one mentor, the people that I was hanging around, they were very easily making millions of dollars, $1 million a month, $1 million a week, $1 million day. And so when you hang around those people, it starts to become a little bit more normal per se. But I also saw them lose a lot of that money. I saw it firsthand. I saw them stress over it. I saw drama happen because of it. They had affiliates that they had to pay out to. And so for me, I actually, even though I wasn't consciously realizing it, I actually saw the drama that came with being able to have a lot of money. And then I saw the after effect with a lot of them where they lost all of that money. Not from reckless spending, but just because business. If you can make a lot of money coming in, that's wonderful. But can you keep it? Can you keep the profit, or does it kind of go out? And I've been on all sides of it. And so just right here, I want to now pull it into kind of like that shift. The shift of, okay, so other people are making that $1 million. You know it's possible for other people to make millions of dollars. You see it, but then there has to come a time where you shift it and say, is it possible for me? And just being aware of where you are, that's the first step. So I want to tell you the story of what actually happened in our first $1 million month, my husband and I. Okay? And the reason this actually happened was one word, and the word was perspective. If he, at that time, didn't have the perspective of being open to some other possibilities, this never would have happened. It wasn't a complete fluke, but it would not have ever happened if he was completely focused on doing exactly what he knew how to do. And that right there, I just want to open up your minds a little bit. That right there is one of the biggest hiccups that I see as like a profit and growth strategist helping our clients, is that they know what they need to do. They need to get more leads. They need to get those leads into sales, and they're focused on that. But the problem is when you're focused on only what you know, and it's maybe only what you've taught, you're not aware of all these other hidden treasures that are actually inside of your business. Okay, does that make sense? Like, they're there, but you actually can't see them because you got those blinders on, right? That was what we were doing for a while, but really we started to have some perspective. And so here's what happened, okay? So we were doing the launch model per se, where we were selling a low ticket between like $97 and $197 to offer, right? It was a digital course teaching you basically how to make money as an affiliate marketer online. So easy sales coming in, $97 to $200, people coming in. The average price was like around $100 per person. Well, this offer that we were creating was actually really, really good. It got picked up by a lot of other affiliates. And so within this little time span, we had 3,000 buyers. Okay, so think about that, like 3,000 buyers that were like, oh my gosh, we want that. That's really good. And so that brought in about $300,000 just like that. That was great. I mean, great, right? Now, we didn't have any one-on-one time. He didn't have to do any of that. So like, it's not like we're like, holy crap, I got to go deal with all of this. No, it was very easy. It was all automated. Didn't matter how many people bought, 3,000. That was the way our business was set up. And by the way, if you make a lot of sales and then you got to do a lot of extra work, you're not going to make the sales because you know more sales means more work. So that's where strategy comes into play, that we got to make sure that you're set up to be able to allow this money to come in easily to you without some extra mental burden. So $300,000. Now, normally that would have been the model. We would have been happy with that. We certainly were happy with that, right? We were happy with $300,000. This was back in like 2010, 2011, I think, right around that time. So even then, it was a lot easier to do things like that because it was new back then. But here we are with this $300,000, and we had 3,000 buyers. Like, that's a lot of buyers. And so if we would have just continued to focus, we would have gone on to basically do the same thing next month. Hey, here's our offer. We know it works. People come in, send traffic to it. Well, you're going to make our money. But here's where the shift was. He, thank goodness, was open to saying, because he had someone ask him a question about, this is really great and this is really good, but I don't have time to do this. Like, is there a faster way to get this done? Is anybody else can actually like do this for me? And the do this was kind of like the techie work kind of stuff. So it made him think, and he was like, you know what? We got 3,000 buyers here. I wonder, other people are probably asking this question, like, is there another way? Like, can you help us with a little bit more? Can we give them more value? That was where we were going. Can we give them some more value to actually make sure we don't get any refunds? There's a lot of people, we don't want to have refunds coming in. And so like, what else could we do? So here's the perspective shift. He used that and said, well, instead of just doing exactly what I know how to do, let me do a webinar for these $3,000 buyers or 3,000 buyers. Let's do a webinar. And on this webinar, he was like, look, this is what you guys have. This is how it all works. We know it works. It's great. Here's a question. You got value from it, but do you want some help with this? Would you like us to do this heavy lifting for you? It's going to be about $4,000 for us because we got to outsource it, but would you like us to do that? Well, you think some people said yes? Yeah, out of those actual 32, it was 3,000, it was 3,200 buyers, 230 of them on that webinar were like, yeah, I do. I do want that. Yes. So 230 people raised their hand initially and said, yes, I want to buy that. It's $4,000. Well, what is that? It was actually $930,000 that we got from that one webinar by asking this one question, because we were open to being like, hey, there's some hidden treasures in here. And we just kind of threw that number out there anyway. And so that's the shift that was so easy. 930 plus the extra 300, that was $1 million a month. And all of that money would never have come in if we hadn't thought, or he hadn't thought outside the box to say, you know what, you want some help with this. And that was literally when we realized, just as a business owner, the power of a perfect upsell. I've talked about that in here before. Having this back end upsell is huge. And it's one of the biggest things we do with our clients when they're ready for it is let's come up with your future fortunes. That is this big upsell. And so that's the perspective shift right there. We could have easily focused on what we know how to do. Go get more leads and turn them into sales. It does work, but there's a grinding in there, and that's what I'm seeing a lot in the marketplace right now. So many people are talking about marketing. You got to market, you got to market, you got to go to market, you got to be on TikTok and Instagram, you got to be everywhere, omnipresent. Yes, but here's the thing. If you are having a leaky bucket model inside your business, all these leads are coming in and they're going out, and you're not capitalizing on all of this extra amazingness that is inside your business because you're not looking for it, right? You guys understand? Is that making sense for you? And so what's the question here? How does that change? How does that change for you a little bit? It starts with asking the question, where are my hidden treasures? Where are your hidden treasures in your business? Because if you don't know where they are, they're never going to come up. And most of the time, it's really hard for people in your own business to find them. Unless they happen by accident. That was the big power that we saw with our clients. This was an unknown strategy so many years ago. Now it's not. Now a lot of people know they should have upsells or back-end offers. They're just too busy grinding, too busy hustling. They don't have enough time to go do that. And so that's really where we started to focus as profit and growth strategists. Stop marketing and losing on the way. Fix your business. So what we do is we're the money hunters. We go into people's businesses, and even just a quick conversation, I can open up someone's business and look at these different areas, because there's a few different areas, and say, oh, and by asking a couple questions, have you ever thought about this? Well, what about this? It's a great idea, but what about this? Those questions are so powerful. I've been doing this for over a decade, and here's what's interesting. Humans don't change. We are the same emotions. We buy and act and react the same commonalities. Businesses don't really change that much because businesses are solving problems for humans. And so that's kind of the same. What is different is the marketing strategy, the marketing tactics. There's a saying that we had back in the day that marketers ruin everything, because they do. They grab onto something, they put it out there, everybody does it, and then it stops working. And so that's why marketing is constantly evolving. And as humans, we have to relate to that. But as a business, there's just a few areas in your business that it doesn't matter what your business is. These are the areas where those hidden treasures will be. And it's hard for people to see it in their own business because you got your own business goggles on. We all do. We see through our own lens. We see through our own perspective. We see through our own stories of what everything has to be. So having a third person come in and look at your business and just be able to broaden your perspective, to shine light on those different areas, what is that worth to you, for one? I can tell you it's kind of priceless, because when we do that and we open up the business and we tweak some of these areas pretty quickly, because it's pretty simplistic when we go in, we have a lot of experience with it, with the whole goal of getting to that hidden money, those future fortunes, the big stuff in your business, right? We can see that really well. And then as soon as we kind of enlighten people into their business, they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And I get so excited, and that gets me excited. I love watching people have these ahas, because in my business, people's ahas translates to money. And money's great, but it's what the money can bring them. That $1 million a month, even though it sounds amazing. We had this first $1 million month back then, and it kind of fell into our laps because we were open to it. Right? That then came with a lot of lessons. It came with a lot of lessons of like, wow, we can do this again. Like, we actually promoted that same webinar over and over to all of those different buyers. We only had 800 people on that first webinar, so we had 3,000 buyers. So we continued to follow back up with them, made over 3 million on that exact same model, just having people go through it, right? So follow up, super important. We know that, but follow up's important. But here's I don't want to say the downside, but here's like the hidden side that people don't tell you about. It's not so much in this training, but like, we had a lot of expenses. We had a lot of people that had brought those people to us. We had to pay them out. And so being able to earn $1 million sounds amazing. But if you're not able to keep it, which what also is amazing is how fast $1 million can go away. That is actually very true. That brought us lessons that over the years we've been able to fix for ourselves, fix for our clients. And then we've worked inside of 8-figure businesses, a lot of 8-figure businesses, where we see these mistakes that can be just pulled way down into small businesses and fixed really quickly. So this right here today, this little training, I'm running out of my time here, so I want to be respectful. Hopefully, are you guys getting some value here? So, Dominique, hey, I just saw your comment. So exactly, it's not about money itself, it's what the money can bring. So I've got this behind me, Create Your Freedom. That is actually the name of our new Facebook group, Create Your Freedom, because what does the money mean to you? Money has nothing. Money's just paper. Money's actually invisible because it's whatever we want to give to it. What does that money bring you? Does it bring you headache? Does it bring you a stress? Does it bring you joy? It's the result of the result, right? That's what we want to be doing. And so let's pull it into you. How can you use this shift in your business? The biggest takeaway that I'd love for you to have from here is, one, pull back. Pull back on your business and look at it. If you're making sales, where are they coming from? Where's your mental energy going to? Where are you focusing all your time, energy, efforts, and money? Where is that going? Can you pull back? Would it be helpful to have a conversation so that I could actually help you say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? And that is what I'm actually offering for you. So right now, my husband and I, our schedules are getting actually quite booked, but we used to work with these really big businesses. And then after COVID, that's why we're back down here. I want to be able to impact smaller businesses, to take these strategies to have that bigger ripple effect. That's why I'm here. It's not being taught. This stuff is not being taught, and these strategies work. So I do have spots on my calendar. My husband has spots on his calendar that we're opening up for people exactly like you. If you have a business and you're making sales, let's have a little conversation. Would you enjoy that, for one, so that I could ask you a couple questions and say, have you thought about this, this, and this? There's about 4 parts in that business that I would open up and look at to say, this is how this could work for you. Do you want to see? All right. And so if you're interested in that, on this live, you're watching the replay, you're watching live, write down here, like type in millions, the actual word millions, because the shift that we can bring you, sometimes it's strategy. Yes. Sometimes it's absolutely strategy of the actual how you do this in your business. Sometimes it's money psychology, where you're holding yourself back because of these invisible barriers that we all have in our head. Sometimes you're just holding yourself back because you're not even willing to look at it, where we can bring that third set of eyes. And so the potential of this shift in your business is millions. Okay, so type in the word millions, and when I see that, I will either reach out to you or someone from my team. We will reach out to you and get you scheduled onto my calendar so we can have just like a 15-minute chat. This is not a sales call. I have nothing to sell you, because I don't know if our strategy actually works for you, depending on your business or what stage you are in your business, right? But if you're watching this right now and you're vibing with what I'm saying, it's a pretty good chance it does. So yeah, type that in the comments, millions, and I'll be reaching out to you. Let's have a quick conversation so that I can just ask you a couple questions, because we have helped thousands of entrepreneurs, and a lot of them service-based entrepreneurs, which pretty much everybody in this group is, and that's why I'm here. I want to be lifting that tide. A rising tide lifts all boats. That is what my mission is for here. So ponder this today. If you're still here, thank you for your time and attention, but ponder this. Look at your business. Where are you focusing your time, your effort, your energy? where is the hidden treasure in your business? If you don't know that answer right now, that's okay. Most people don't know it right off the bat. But if you'd like to know that answer, let's have a conversation. Let's have that quick little chat. Type in millions in the comments here. Send me a friend request if we're not connected. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. And if you got some value, you got some little nuggets, type them in. Let me know, as I'd love to hear from them. And if you have any specific questions, I will come back to this chat, type them in here, and I will answer them for you. So thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to interacting with you. Okay? Bye-bye.